Please welcome to the stage Spotify's new co-CEO, Gustav Soderstrom.
Hey everyone, it's so great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Gustav Soderstrom, and I've been building product and technology at Spotify for almost 2 decades. And at the beginning of this year, I have the privilege of serving as co-CEO alongside Alex Norström. Now this year, Spotify turns 20. It's a pretty big deal. 20 years. And you know, in tech, that's not just a long time, it's a lifetime. Most companies don't really survive 5. So today, I want to spend our time sharing a little bit about how we survived, what we learned, and most importantly, where we're going next. At Spotify, we often talk about mountains that we as a company try to climb. And there's this concept in computer science called a local maximum. So you climb a hill, you get to the top, and you feel great about yourself. You've optimized your position, right? But then you look up and you realize that you're just on a small hill. The real mountain, the global maximum, is way over there. The problem is that to reach that global maximum, you can't just keep walking uphill. You first have to walk downhill, back into the valley, into uncertainty. And then you have to start climbing all over again. Many companies die because they refuse to walk down that hill. They sort of hug the peak that they know. Spotify is here today because multiple times we were willing to walk to the edge and jump into the unknown. The first mountain was access. So in 2006, when Spotify started, the competitor wasn't any tech giant. It was piracy. I grew up in Sweden, which at the time was basically a piracy haven. The global record industry was collapsing at such a rate that famously, a UK music industry executive, when he went to Sweden and met his Swedish counterpart, he looked at his P&L, his profit and loss statement, and he said, "That's not a business, my friend. That's a hobby." The industry was in shambles. So our founder, Daniel Ek, he realized that you couldn't beat piracy with lawyers. You had to beat it with a better product. Piracy had already given people all the world's music for free, without ads, by the way, and with offline sync. But piracy still had one big flaw. It was a terrible user experience. You had to search for a torrent, if you remember those, wait like several minutes, sometimes hours, depending on the modem you had. But then when you got it, you might have ended up with a mislabeled track or actually just a computer virus. Happened to me a couple of times. So in product circles, where sort of I come from, we often say that all truly great products, they need to pull off some sort of magic trick, something that was previously considered inconceivable. Our magic trick wasn't actually just giving people access to music. As I said, piracy had already done that. What we did was zero latency. It was the illusion that you had downloaded all the world's music to your local hard drive. So when you clicked a track, it started playing in less than 200 milliseconds. So we essentially took the technology, the peer-to-peer technology that powered piracy, and we re-engineered it to save the music industry and help artists get paid. Technology alone is seldom enough, though, to change the world. So the other innovation that happened at the same time was a new business model for music that could compete with piracy. Remember, piracy was free. This was ads plus subscription, which we call freemium. So by providing access and technology and an effective business model, we had managed to climb this first mountain, and Spotify was growing fast. So there we were. We felt, honestly, pretty good about ourselves. We were at the top of the original mountain, the local maximum, it turned out. The company was thriving, but then the world changed. The smartphone arrived. Internally, we call what happened next the gazebo moment. In the summer of 2010, our small team was at a company offsite in the Stockholm archipelago, sitting in this beautiful yellow little gazebo. But I had to deliver some really bad news. The party was going to end. our business model at the time was based on people using our free desktop app that could compete with free Piracy, loving it, and eventually paying for the privilege of syncing those files to their phones. But if you remember Mary Meeker's Internet Trends report had just come out, and the data was irrefutable. Smartphone sales were about to outpace PC sales soon. So many users wouldn't even have desktops. And if they skipped straight from Piracy to mobile, they'd hit a paywall, they would shrug, and they'd go back to Piracy. So our business model was doomed. And according to Mary Meeker, we had just 2 short years to invent a completely new one. So we walked down the first mountain. We shifted our focus from the proven desktop space and went all in on mobile. But the problem we faced was, how do you give away the exact thing that you are charging for, mobility, without just killing your entire business model? So something else that is often talked about in product circles is you should follow your users, right? Look at the data and see what they do on your platform. And it turned out that our mobile premium users who had full on-demand playback, they were still playing their playlist in shuffle mode about 50% of the time. This gave us an idea. We thought to ourselves, what if we could give away just the shuffle mode for free? And in 2013, we licensed, built, and launched the first mobile app in the App Store where a user could create a playlist of any song they wanted, put their phone in their pocket, and listen to that playlist in shuffle mode for free forever. This made Spotify's growth explode, pulling millions of people out of Piracy and into paying for music. So we had readjusted to a mobile-first world, and with that, we had climbed the second mountain. Now, already as we were scaling that second mountain, the mobile mountain, another massive shift was happening with the connected home and an explosion of hardware, the Alexas and the Google Homes, right? And we realized that having a great mobile app alone wasn't going to be enough. So we had to make a contrarian bet on Ubiquity. At the time, conventional wisdom said that you should pick an ecosystem and then you should build a walled garden around it, like Apple did with iOS. But we bet the other way, with a protocol called Spotify Connect. We decided that Spotify should work everywhere, in your car, your kitchen, your PlayStation, your TV. We chose openness over lock-in. The bet was actually very painful, and it took a long time because we had to convince all the world's hardware manufacturers to implement our protocol. Remember, we were a tiny little Swedish company at the time. But today, that bet compounds across more than 2,000 different hardware devices, and users are free to listen to the music on whatever combination of hardware they want. The next mountain, the fourth mountain, was a variant of the follow your users lesson. But this time, instead of watching the users, we watched what our own developers were doing with our product. This is generally a good product strategy because these are often early adopters of new behavior, and they are in a rare position to actually build what they want to see in the world instead of just waiting for it. For this exact reason, Spotify has always had hack weeks where the entire company just pauses its usual day-to-day execution for broad and deep bottoms-up innovation across the entire company, just to see what people want to do. Leverage the brain of sort of 8,000 smart people. And time again, we had seen our developers hacking their podcast into their own Spotify apps. Now, as a company, we wanted to be more than music, but we weren't sure how. So we looked at the podcast industry, and we realized that it was just full of great content and amazing creators, many of them having deep conversation, which we felt was the perfect counter to the shortification of media that was going on. But podcasts have been neglected for years. So we made a bet that if supported, this market would keep growing. At the sort of the same time, a little bit later, we also noticed enterprising book publishers in Germany uploading audiobooks, kind of disguised as music albums to our platform. It was a terrible user experience. If you were lucky, you'd skip a whole chapter, but it could also play in shuffle modes, which is very weird to listen to a book in shuffle mode. But what struck us was that despite the poor experience, users were devouring these books. So actually for us, from the inside looking at this data, the product opportunities were pretty obvious. They were right there in front of us. But we had to think about the how. For both of these, the conventional wisdom at the time told us, and everyone else, to build a separate app for podcasts and another one for books. That was just the way things were done. Remember the "there's an app for that" commercial? But we asked ourselves, why should the user have to adapt to the format by switching software? Shouldn't the software adapt to the user instead? So we decided to instead build an adaptive user experience. One app where the interface just dynamically shifts depending on the content. It was a massive technical challenge, but it allowed creators from music and podcast and book to cross-pollinate audiences. And over time, hundreds of millions of users embraced it, proving us right. And of course, today, we aren't just a music company, we're an audio company, and people are listening more than ever. So now, we really thought we were at the peak. But it turned out that the tallest mountain we've ever faced was right in front of us: generative AI. Now, there's a lot of noise, a lot of breathless hot takes, but as a technologist, here is the framework that I use. As I mentioned before, new technology is seldom disruptive on its own. Significant disruption happens when new technologies enable new asymmetric business models. So Spotify didn't disrupt downloads just because of low latency streaming. As I said, we disrupted them because we also introduced the ad-supported subscription model. Similarly, it was the business models of Uber and Airbnb that disrupted their respective industries, not just the technology alone. And if you look at the consumer space, we believe that the dominant business model will continue to be ads plus subscription. In fact, you can already see the big AI labs adopting exactly this model. So this puts Spotify in an outstanding position because we already have the exact right business model for this world. But from a product perspective, we actually think everything is going to change. User expectations of what software and services can and soon should do for them are rapidly evolving. For all of you, I'm sure, sitting there with ChatGPT or Claude or something. Let me give you the way that we think about it. If you look at the history of the internet, Spotify started in what we call the era of curation, right? Users were organizing their friends and tracks into social networks and playlists. And then the world moved to recommendation, where the algorithms did that work for you. And now we are entering the age of generation, where the consumer participates in a much bigger way. Most consumer products today, they still operate sort of like old school broadband. I know I'm getting a little bit technical here. When it comes to user input. So in old school broadband, you had lots of data on the downlink, sending the user videos and songs and feeds, but very narrow bandwidth on the uplink. So just a few swipes from the user or a click or something. So for companies like Spotify, we've mostly had to guess what you want to hear based on whether you, for example, skipped a track. But if you think about that, did you skip it because you hate it or because you love it, but you're at the gym and jazz isn't the right song? To the algorithm, it's just a skip. It's very hard to interpret. It all looks the same. Generative AI changes this. You can now communicate back to the platform in rich, natural language, in English. You can tell services what you actually want and why. We think that the world will move away from these sort of passive single-player experiences and one-way platforms where users just receive and receive and receive, to fully interactive, multiplayer platforms. This is where users will participate, interact with friends, artists, and creators, and enjoy much more control than they had before. So for our next mountain, we're building the world's first truly intelligent, agentic media platform. One that you can literally talk to, steer, and control. One where the algorithm works for you instead of the other way around. We started this actually some time ago with the AI DJ, giving you a personalized radio host that you can ask for whatever you want. Like, I'm going for a run, give me an EDM playlist with big drops and 160 BPMs to match my running cadence. And then, recently, with tools like Prompt to Playlist, you can literally write your own algorithm for a playlist and then schedule that to update daily or weekly. So if you ever wanted a playlist that, for example, takes all the music trending on TikTok, filters it to your taste, and then removes any track that you've already listened to, you can right now. You just go in and write that sentence. Are you tired of what Spotify thinks is your favorite genre just because it was for the last 3 years? I know I do sometimes. Just tell your algorithm to avoid it. Avoid my main genre. This is the power of computers actually understanding English, that they can finally understand you. We think Spotify is uniquely positioned to climb this mountain and make this world a reality. Because while LLMs, large language models, are a key ingredient to making these possible, general LLMs are not enough. Because LLMs are trained on facts. They know the capital of Texas. It's Dallas, right? Just kidding. But taste is not a fact. It's an opinion. If you ask a model for workout music, for example, there is no canonical answer. For someone in New York, it might be hip-hop. For someone in Western Europe, it's often EDM. And for me and a lot of Scandinavians, it's death metal. You need billions of constantly updated data points across hundreds of millions of users that do human curation to be able to map language to music in a deep and personal way. This is the data set that Spotify has been building for over a decade. But I also want to touch on the artist side of all of this change. Because there is a lot of fear, and it is completely understandable. AI is a tool, no doubt a very powerful one. And like any tool, it can be used in both really good and really bad ways. As an example, in the early 2010s, people weren't convinced that computers could be used to make music at all. But then a kid from Sweden named Avicii used his laptop to change music forever. But music has never just been about the tools used to make it. Music is identity. When a teenager buys a t-shirt at a concert, they aren't just buying clothing, they're buying something that tells the world who they are, what you belong to. AI cannot manufacture what it feels like to stand in a crowd of people who love an artist just the way you do. These moments of human connection, they transcend technology. I'm certain of it. So I firmly believe that in a world of generated content, true human connection actually becomes more valuable, not less. And I'm not just making this up. We already see this play out in the more than $1.5 billion worth of concert tickets that we've sold. It's just growing. In a world of AI and personalization, live events, like the one we're at right now, are bigger than they've ever been, and they continue to grow. But we also believe that AI can create a lot of value for artists and the industry. And our job as Spotify is to ensure that the economics reflect that value. Whether it's musicians and songwriters making original music, or maybe letting fans remix and interact with their existing IP, we're working with the music industry to make sure the right compensation frameworks are in place. We solved this with Piracy, and we are going to solve it with AI. Because at the end of the day, Spotify's mission is to deliver creativity to the world. One note, one voice, one idea at a time. That's our commitment. And we believe that we're still in the early days of doing just that. Okay, so now you understand our journey. I'm excited to give you a first look at one of our next steps, Taste Profile. This new feature gives you, the user, a comprehensive look at just how exactly Spotify AI models your listening across music, podcasts, and audiobooks, who we think you are. And more importantly, it lets you edit it directly. Here are some real examples from internal users. One said, "Finally, I can tell Spotify to just ignore those 2 artists that my kids are always playing. They used to ruin all my recommendations and my rap." I'm looking at my kids here somewhere right now. Another example, these are real examples. When I was young, I used to be very big on classical music, but I fell out of it. So I just told Spotify to start putting a classical shelf on my homepage, which in turn made me start to listen again. We're launching this in beta in New Zealand soon, but if you're a Spotify premium user here today, scan the QR code behind me to join early access list. It's going to be very cool. So 20 years have taught us that every time we left the comfort of the local maximum, we took a jump, made another climb, the view from the new peak was even better. But not just for Spotify, but for every creative industry that we've built for, every listener and every fan. Thank you for joining me at the base camp of something new. And now I'm excited and privileged to invite Lainey Wilson and David Friedberg to the stage for a conversation on the many exciting things happening across our industries. Welcome, guys. Thank you. All right, we're going to get some chairs set up, some notes. Hey, Lainey, welcome.
How you doing, buddy?
Very good.
Hey.
Good to see you, David. All right, let's take a seat.
Am I sitting here?
Yes, perfect.
Great.
Oh, they're constructing the seat in real time. Amazing. Thank you, sir. All right, I am very excited for this discussion, but before we get into it, I just want to mention a couple of sentences on each of you. So Lainey, you have nearly 10 million monthly active users on Spotify. You have multiple #1 country hits. You won the CMAs, the ACMs, you've won Grammys, you've pretty much done it all in music. But in addition to singing, and by the way, my wife is a big fan.
Oh, I'll take that.
In addition to that, though, to singing, you're also a songwriter and an entrepreneur. And you've partnered with major brands like Wrangler. You've launched multiple businesses of your own, including your own fashion and jewelry lines. And if I understand correctly, you're currently on tour, and you just came back from Australia for this
Yep,
one.
we just rolled in about a week ago. What day is
Amazing.
it?
Thank you for coming.
I'm glad to be here.
David, you were a founding member of the corp dev team at Google, where you started in 2004. You built and sold the Climate Corporation in 2013, I think. And in 2016, you launched a production board, which holds investments across tech, including in agriculture, food, and decarbonization. You're the co-founder and CEO of Halo Genetics, and you're the co-host of All In. I don't understand how you can do all of that, but I'm very happy about it, which consistently ranks as the top business and tech podcast on Spotify. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for not making it a political category podcast.
All right, let's get into it. Lainey, starting with you.
Let's do it.
So South by Southwest is really about the intersection of culture and tech. And you both live and work in a world where ideas and art sort of travel around the world instantly. And being here in Austin, I don't think anyone is surprised that country music tops the charts here. But what all of you may not know is that country music is one of the absolute fastest growing genres globally. And it's become hugely popular in markets from the UK to Australia, where you're just back from. And our data shows that 4x4 by You is a fan favorite there, and I bet the crowd went wild when
they
you
did.
sang that. And oh, by the way, you have a new song out today as well.
Today,
Can't
yeah.
Sit Still, right?
Because I cannot sit still. It's
Let's
true.
see if we can do it for 20 minutes at least.
Yes, let's do it.
So I would love to hear how you think about building your audience in 2026 and beyond.
You know, I feel like it is changing every single day. But for me, it is just connecting as much as I possibly can with my touring, with whether it's releasing music, touring. I'm putting out a documentary here in April that's going to be on Netflix, and I think that's going to be a good way for me to really stay connected to the fans that I've made, but also get to know some new ones. And we're also just always looking at the data. We're just trying to see what's working, what's not working. And for me, it has always been about that just fan interaction, me speaking directly to them. And so whether that's face-to-face or to the camera, that seems to be the thing that works for me. So it's just about connecting as much as I possibly can, and cutting through a lot of the noise.
Can I ask you, I told you when we spoke backstage here that country music is big globally, but more than that, almost Texas culture is big globally.
Yeah.
Glandman is one of the top shows in Sweden. What is it about country music in Texas, and why do you think it's growing so much globally?
It is growing, and it blows my mind because every single opportunity I get to go across the pond to play music. People are singing every word. They're wearing their cowboy hats. We're going to get you in a cowboy hat. and some cowboy boots, too. And you, too.
I'm up.
Hey, we're here in Austin. That's what we're going to do. But I really do think that, well, I'm partial, but I think country music is a very special genre. I think that it takes you home when you are nowhere near it. I think it's about that storytelling. I think everybody is a good sucker for a good story. And if you're not, I'm confused. But I think that's what it is. It's just people are craving authenticity, and I think country music offers that.
Yeah, I think the authenticity is key.
Yep.
Also, my kids told me when we got here, they've never been here, everyone is so nice. So maybe it's that as well.
I love it.
All right, David, All In is one of the most popular podcasts in the world. The show name is a hat tip to the poker games and long conversations that you and your co-host were already having, right? And on this show, there's a lot of time spent on US interests, but you still have a very quickly growing global audience. Were you surprised by that, and was that your intention?
Well, we didn't have much of an intention. It was a very random situation that the podcast came out of COVID on Zoom. I would say the original conversations were all about the tech industry, business, markets, what's going on, how are we all reacting to and responding to the change in the world around us, how crazy is this shit was kind of like a pretty common theme during COVID, and what should we do, what could we do? So I think for anyone working in the tech industry or starting a company or investing around the world, it became something to listen to. A lot of people have described it a little bit like being a fly on the wall in a room of people just literally having a conversation about these topics. And I think that's kind of why it resonated globally, because there are investors, startup founders, builders, tech around the world. So,
was there anything that inspired you with this? I don't know if there was any other such, the concept of just recording a general conversation, being a fly on the wall.
No, that wasn't the design of the show. I think there wasn't much of a design because the one guy wanted to be interviewed by the other guy every week. That was the original show concept. And then they kept talking about finding time to go in the studio to do that show.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find the time to go into the studio to do that show. And then COVID hit and we were all stuck at home. And they're like, hey, let's get on Zoom and talk to each other and put that out as the show. And they asked me to join for the first episode, so I did, talking about COVID and tech, science and what was going on. And so that's how the show started. So there was no design. And I think that may be why it worked, because it's also like there was no real reason that we would care whether it succeeded or not. And so we just maybe didn't give a shit enough for us to make...
I think that's common in creativity. When you don't give a shit, you tend to
and you just do
things.
what comes natural and what feels right, and then it just kind of worked.
So for both of you, AI is obviously transforming creative industries right now, opening up huge possibilities, but also raising some big concerns. So I'd love to hear about what you think this means for your plans as an artist and a creator. And if we start with you, Lainey, you mentioned backstage that you and your team are building your own AI impersonation detection system.
Yes.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
For sure, for sure. Well, I'll just first say that I think that technology has done a lot for the music business. I think that it has always pushed creativity forward. But I will say it is a scary world we're living in, because you just never know how they're going to use your face or your voice. And the truth is, like we were just talking about that genuine connection, it's really important for me to feel like anytime my fans see something that they feel like it is really Lainey Wilson saying it to them, I want them to feel like that they can trust me. I have partnered with a company called Lodi that is constantly working on pulling down these imposters or these social media posts, whatever it is that is not coming from me or my team, and that is a full-time job at this point, and it is really, really crazy. And the scary thing is even when your family members think it's actually you, you're like, oh Lord, they're getting really good at this. But yeah, we have found a team of people who are taking it serious just like we are, and I just want to keep that relationship with my fans the way that I want it to be, genuine and pure and authentic.
I think that's very, very innovative. You're at the cutting edge of this, but I suspect that every creator is going to want something like this, and maybe eventually every human. as we go into this world where it's harder and harder to understand if you can actually trust
For sure.
what you see and not.
For sure.
David, you're really close to this space, obviously. You talk a lot about it on the podcast, and then privately you invest a lot. It's a very broad topic, but if you just pick, what developments are you most excited about right now?
So I view the transition in AI to be sort of like an up-leveling of creative potential. I'll just start with that statement. There's certainly risks associated with impersonation and theft of IP and whatnot, which I think will get worked out as it was with YouTube and Spotify in the early days, and it'll get there. But I got my first Macintosh computer when I was 6 years old, the Macintosh original. And I was on that computer learning how to use Mac Paint, and eventually I got Adobe Photoshop. And I was doing graphic design at the age of 11 or 12 as a service to people. Like I was making money, making business cards and flyers and stuff. And so I was early on when Kai's Power Tools came out. Does anyone remember that? God, no one in this room. That is so depressing. Oh my God.
We see a
Oh
couple
my God,
hands.
that's crazy.
There's
So
one,
Kai's
there's
Power
two.
Tools, yeah, it was this crazy.
Three.
Okay, there's a couple. But Adobe Photoshop, right, you could put like images on and edit them and manipulate them. And then Kai's Power Tools had these filters, and you would do a filter to the image. And it was like, holy crap, you could make the image sharper. You could make it blur. You could create depth. You could do all these things that people were like, that's cheating. Like, that's not fair. Like, how can you do that? The cameraman's supposed to do that. Or the guy who learned how to paintbrush is the one who should be doing that. And so there's always, and then later on I did made techno music. Don't make fun of me for it, but you and I talked about how I used to have like the Juno 106
I was there
and
as
a
well.
TB303, and then I got all the synthetic sequencers on my computer. And there were all these plugins that came out, and the plugins became, just like in the music industry today, it was a question of like, are you cheating? Like, is that really fair? And what ended up happening is creators, whether graphic creators or music creators, found extraordinary ways to leverage these new tools to create new soundscapes, new visual features, new types of film. Today in Hollywood, a lot of the production houses are, and I've spent some time with some of these companies, they're using like second units to do fully AI rendered like second unit shoots. So the cost comes down, but the stuff you can do goes up by like 100x. Because you didn't have the budget to go and like recreate a trading floor from the 1970s. And now you can do an AI in a couple of minutes. And so the creator, the director has this ability to make a landscape that they otherwise wouldn't have the ability to make. And so I think that there's a leveling up that's happening in terms of what creators can do. And we're just starting to see people tinker with these things. And the stuff that I've seen, especially in video, and I'm sure over time we'll see more and more happen in music, is just incredible. So I think that the second big wave that's probably still to come is non-linear content. And what I mean by that is like today, whether it's a video or a music track, you just press play, and it goes linearly from beginning to end. I think that creators are gonna unlock, like in video games, the ability to maybe have some difference in how that track plays or how that movie plays out. Whether it's like click and choose your own adventure, which I think may be a little annoying to consumers, or it's like, what if you could listen to your favorite house music track and make it a little bit faster, a little bit cooler, a little bit shorter, add some vocals, add some jazz. But the creator, not the user, but the creator can set all those parameters. So now the creator is almost like coming up with all these ideas or these different dimensions of how they can create music. And you don't have to have one final track, but you can say, hey, we could make a couple different ways that this track could play out. And then the actual playback for the consumer, whether it's in a video or in music, could be a little bit different. And so I think we're likely gonna see like progressive creators come up with incredible ways of using these tools and these capabilities where people are gonna be watching movies differently. Like, hey, we all watch the same show, but I saw a little different view than you saw. Like I saw it from the bad guy's view, you saw it from the good guy's view, or we all listened to a track a little bit differently. So that's the sort of stuff that I think could be really cool, what that AI unlocks, is this sort of different experience.
Can I ask you, Lainey? So, as the creator and the composer of some of these tracks, if there was a framework for your fans to be able to work with your music, where everyone was correctly compensated, how do you feel about that? Because it is your music.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's fun to be creative. I think like that's why I started doing this to begin with. So I would love for my fans to be able to do something if it's fair for the person who wrote it, composed it, created it. I'm down for that. I want everybody to be able to like color outside of the lines and try new things. So like I said, if people are compensated for it, Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, we got.
Are you guys doing anything like this at Spotify? I mean, is there something that you
Well,
guys would do?
I'm looking at my comms team. They're like, no, don't go there.
What do you guys, should he say something?
There is this one feature we're working on that touches on this that I absolutely love, which people have been asking for forever. So, you know, in movies, you have like IMDb. You can go in and see like, who was the director? Who was the producer of this? You can really nerd out. In music, that hasn't often been the case. You often know who the performer is, but most people have no idea who wrote it, who produced it. So this has leaked a little bit on Reddit, but we're rolling out this feature called Song DNA, where we've meticulously gone through to understand exactly who played a role on each song. So you can click on a song and it kind of explodes into the DNA of the song. You can see that songwriter, but then you can just say like, what other songs on Spotify did that songwriter participate in, or that producer? Or actually, talking about remix culture, you can see like that sample was actually from this original song. So we'll see. I think fans are gonna love it. I love it. And I think it's really important that there are all these creators around the performer that are just not that well known by the general public. So that's something I'm very excited about.
Cool.
Yes, I love that.
That's live or that's to be live?
It's rolling out.
Okay.
Looking at my comms team here.
Yeah.
So I'm in trouble. Okay, I'm gonna stay on stage for a while more. All right, another question for both of you.
Aren't you like the CEO?
You'd think, right?
Sure, you're the guy in charge, but yeah.
The one controlling is sitting right over there. Now for both of you, as the other co-CEO, my partner Alex and I have stepped into the roles of co-CEOs. We're spending a lot of time talking with artists, with podcast creators, and with authors. I love books. I'm very excited about this, all around the world. And one of my favorite questions is, what can we build for you? Do you have any ideas? As a creator or as a user, by the way?
Yeah. Well, and too, speaking as a creator and a user, I think it would be cool to build something based off of like the fans' feelings that day. You know, because I mean, the truth is like we're all going through something at different times, and it'd be really cool for my fans to feel like that day that they were going through something hard, I was speaking directly to them, that they didn't have to like listen through the whole album to figure out like which song is resonating with them for that specific thing that they're going through. So it's just my.
Very cool. So you would like to.
That's interesting. So you could go into Spotify and type in "I'm feeling a little down" and get some other recommendations, kind of thing.
Possibly.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So you would like to hear from your fans in some sort of, because you have so many of them,
Yep.
in some sort of aggregated way where you can understand how they feel?
Yes, I think that would be cool too, to know how your fans are feeling too. You know, I meet so many different people from so many walks of life. They have, like, it's crazy the stories that people come up to me and tell me. But one of the through lines for me that I've noticed, just even in meet and greets, is they are willing to share like where they are in life and what it is that they are going through. And so, I don't know, just to be able to like cater to that even more, to even just have like a deeper connection like that with your fan. Because my goal always is for them to feel like I am speaking to them in their story and their life. But if they're going through something and I'm singing a song about let's have a party, you know, I mean, that might not be the thing that helps them get through it, or it could be. They might be like, I need to listen to a party song, crank it up.
So is it okay if we build that feature?
Please, go ahead, do your thing.
As a musician, you only get data on how many plays there were and what the average listen time was. That's all the only feedback you get, pretty much, right?
Yep.
It's true. You do get you get statistics about who was listening, ages, and where they listen, so you can plan your tours. But you're completely right. You have no idea how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And you know, looking at AI, I just talked about how AI allows people to speak in English at scale.
Yep.
That is a very cool thing, to actually understand more about how your fans are feeling, not just their demographics.
Yep.
Okay, anything from you?
Well, a couple years ago, there was a guy who took all of our episodes, like right when AI was kind of getting going, and he ingested them all, and then he created like an AI character of each of the four of us. And then it was like each of the four of us said a bunch of stuff, and it was total bullshit. Like, I sounded awful, but like it's gotten so much better now. But then someone else made a chat interface where you could ask each of us questions, and it would answer as if it was one of us, trained on the data from our show. And it was like, wait, that's actually kind of interesting. And very often, I'm trying to find something that I heard on another show, like on Lex Friedman or Joe Rogan or something, and I'm like, where was that? And so to find what was said by the guest or find what the guest's intention was is very hard today. I got to go like to YouTube and do transcript search, or nowadays I can do Gemini, and Gemini will like search through all the transcript data for me and pull stuff out. But I think every podcaster should have the opportunity to create like Lex Chat or Joe Chat or something where you as a user who's a big fan of the podcast, because like the thing I've realized about podcasting is it's people want to like get really enveloped. They come to these live events. Like we put on a live event with like thousands of people in LA every year. We've got one here tomorrow night. And they want to like absorb more of the content, get into the community, ask, engage, because that particular content vertical is something they're really into. So to have a chat interface where I could ask Joe Rogan questions, like, hey, who was your favorite guest? Which was the craziest shit you ever heard? You know, tell me about that guy that talked about, like, there were pyramids under the ocean and we found them. Like, who was that guy? I would love to be able to have that dialogue with my podcast that I love. I think that would be a really cool feature. And you guys could train it off of the transcript data. And theoretically, you could actually make the audio sound like the host, and I could have a dialogue through the Spotify app, and all of these, that creates more engagement for you guys. And all of the, I should be your head of product for a week.
You're welcome. The role is.
But I think this would be kick-ass. So yeah, I think like, because I would love to chat with Lex Friedman and then be like, hey, tell me about that Graham Hancock interview. And
then our users could just ask David to talk to Digital Chamat, and they have their own all-in show going.
Yeah, I got enough of that.
But do you worry about? So I mean, this thing of like digital representations, it's going to happen. It's happening to your point, and they're getting better.
Make it an opt-in.
Yeah.
People that I think podcasters are different than musicians. So podcasters are creating content. They're not creating these like, tracks, the songs that are kind of their product output. They want to protect the value of the song and so on. Podcasters, the more content they're creating, I think the more engagement they get, the more depth they get. So there's something about re-engaging in that content that actually creates a lot of value for the podcaster, and it doesn't need to be pure. It doesn't need to be how I said the thing at the time I said it per se, but generally like the things I've said, like I'd be fine for an AI chat interface to be trained on that and like answer questions. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, music is interesting as a content category because it has so much repeat listening. People listen to the same track hundreds, thousands of times. But in podcasts, people mostly don't listen to the same episode again. So this would be a way to have value from the back catalog as well.
That's right, but people do listen to the back catalog, like Acquired, Rogan, Lex. Like some of these are very timeless episodes. Because they're interview shows with someone on a particular topic. And so, like, I mean, the stats on Acquired, which is like a business podcast, once people listen to an Acquired podcast, they go back and listen to the whole friggin' library. And they're like, this show's awesome. I want to listen to all of these. And there's a bunch of pods like that. So I think to have some sort of engagement mechanism around that stuff could be very cool.
Okay, we got some product ideas going.
You gonna hire us? Hire both of us?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I made my first hire as CEO.
Yeah.
Amazing. Lainey, you're not just an artist, you're also a founder and an investor across fashion, jewelry, and entertainment. So we talked about how you think about your artist career, but how do you think about building a business alongside your music career?
Well, like I said earlier, I just really like being creative, and I want to make sure that my fans feel like they can like dive into the world of my music as much as they possibly can, or as much as they want to. And I look out at my shows, and I'm seeing people who are dressed just like me, wearing the bell bottoms and their hats and the jewelry, and
this is your outfit you're wearing right now.
This is it. Yeah, we should have put you in some bell bottoms too. So we got
I'm up for it.
The cowboy hat, the boots, and the bell bottoms next time. But yeah, it's just another way for me to connect with my people and with my fans, and like I said, for them to be able to like live in that world as much as they want to. And it's fun, when you're all under like the same roof and you're like looking out there and everybody kind of looks like you. It's especially like with the little girls and stuff, it makes me feel like, man, I better watch what I do and say, because I have a lot of little people watching me. Yeah. But also it gives me this sense of just like responsibility to feel like, okay, I need to be a leader. I need to like set an example, and yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling I feel blessed to like have this platform and be on that stage, and I want people to feel like they know me. I want to feel like I know them, and I think that's
this is why people love country music.
I think that's what it is.
Because of the values, the authenticity. But we spoke backstage, and I complained a little bit that I feel I have a busy travel schedule, but it was nothing compared to yours. How do you
we should
keep
compare.
doing all of these things at the same time?
For so long, I did not have any opportunity at all. I've been at this a long time. I've been living in Nashville for 15 years, and the first 10, I should have packed it up and went home, but I just couldn't. This is the only thing I know how to do. It's the only thing I want to do is just to tell stories. And yeah, I feel like the last few years have just been such a blessing to me and my life and my team. Like I have finally found the right people to surround myself with that understand my vision and don't want to change me for anything. If anything, they just want to elevate me and get me to that next step. And it's getting really fun now. So now we have all these opportunities. There's only so many hours in the day, but I do want to take them all. You know, if it feels right and it feels like it's going to move the needle, then let's do it.
You told me you were from this tiny, tiny town of like 150 people in
170.
170.
Yep.
And you knew pretty early on that you wanted to just do more.
Yes, I did.
You've been
I'm
on this
from Baskin, Louisiana, a little town of 170 people. I'm very proud of where I come from, but honestly, I was telling you this in the room too, that I compare a lot of what I do to what my dad does. My dad is a farmer, and he farms corn, wheat, soybeans, oats, and gets up every day and busts his tail doing it, and he does the same thing every single day. I mean, it looks a little bit different for me every day, but you know, at the end of the day, if it's your livelihood, if it's in you, then you just get up and you do it. A storm could roll through, and you just get up and do it anyway.
Yeah, as a farmer, you got to have a pretty hardcore work ethics.
That's it. So I call myself a song farmer.
Amazing. David, Spotify made this big move into podcasting in 2019, and you and your co-host started, as you said, during COVID in 2020. Can you talk a little bit to us about the growth and evolution that you've seen and sort of where you think it's going next? You mentioned some of the ideas you have, but where do you see podcasting going from here?
Well, podcasting kind of became what blogging used to be. Everyone that had a blog suddenly had a podcast, and prior to that, everyone, right? I mean, it was like who had a web page and you would like do posts. So in the business world, like if you've got, you know, I think one of the problems is a lot of the stuff got sullied, and maybe we're part of this problem as well, but like people selling shit. Like I'm trying to like, people doing a podcast because they're trying to like heighten their profile because they got other stuff to sell. I don't know if that intention really resonates and works well. Maybe we're part of, maybe we should be blamed for that as well. I don't know. But I feel like there's an aspect of that where like everyone's got a podcast now. Yeah. And the market will sort itself out. People listen to what they want to listen to and stuff works, but it's very crowded. It's very noisy out there. And I think to some extent we're seeing folks step it up, right? So the visual stuff matters a lot. I think more than people are realizing. Like a lot of the stuff will hold its own as audio, but like Chris Williamson, I don't know if you guys know this guy, he's a podcaster. He did an episode. Did anyone see the episode he did with Matthew McConaughey? Like a few of you? They built a set on the same kind of sound stage and set stage that they used for The Mandalorian. It's like this LED wall that like wrapped around.
It's so cool.
And they built Interstellar. Like the guy's house from Interstellar with the trailer and the driveway. It's friggin' insane. I recommend you watch it on YouTube just to see what they built.
Or Spotify, by the way.
Or Spotify, I'm sorry.
As video.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I thought
that's the other
I
panel.
thought I was next door and I was at the YouTube thing. I'm so sorry, but I got it.
David, we talked
I know, we got but so, by the way, so this is why I think the video on Spotify does matter a lot. Because I do think a lot of the folks are differentiating by improving the quality of the video content, and it's not just me having a chat. And then obviously the podcasts that are more creative, like all the murder, crime, mystery stuff, it's so cool. Like it's a totally different level. It's not just someone sitting at a table having a conversation. Joe Rogan can hold his own having a conversation for 2 hours, and he'll get great content and good views. But most people cannot. Yeah. Most people need, and so the good creators are they're gonna need to go to like, hey, murder, crime, mystery. That might be the better format. So I think there's a lot of this sort of differentiation that's gonna start to happen, which by the way will like, it fundamentally improves the quality of the experience. Like the consumers, the listeners are like, and the viewers are like, this is awesome now. Like that Matthew McConaughey episode visually was just like, I don't care what McConaughey's saying. this is just so cool.
That stage is pretty cool. Can I ask you, one of the things that I think people like about listening to you and others is that you have a positive view of the future. And there's a lot of dystopia right now. And you're going to start a podcast. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, we'll see. But I do think the thing that troubles me the most is just kind of how techno-pessimistic we are, right? And I think like everyone's just like AI doomerism. Like AI is the most unfavorable thing right now in the country. There's some survey that came out and it was like Iran. Like Iran is more favorable than AI. It's like there's like the sort of thing that happened where AI just became the new, like whether it was climate change or whatever, there's always this like looming threat that we latch onto. And I think we've had this shift in our psyche, particularly in the West, meaning the US and Western Europe, probably since the 1970s, like 1969. We landed on the moon and we had Woodstock that same summer. And I think that was the summer when we became techno-pessimists, where we were like worried about chemicals in our water, radiation killing us, nuclear energy could melt down and wipe out us, nuclear bombs are overhead. So we suddenly became way more concerned about tech. But if you look at like how tech is progressing human lifespan, human health span, how many hours people have to work, the number of hours that people have to work is going down, the quality of life. I know a lot of people are struggling still in America, and there's a lot of left behind differences in what's going on, but a lot of people are moving up the ladder because of the advances in technology. I mean, we all got a friggin' supercomputer in our pocket. There's just so much that I think we take for granted. And when I look at the technology that's being developed and is like real today, and I think about, holy shit, what this is gonna do tomorrow. Like, we're all gonna live forever. We're gonna have free friggin' energy. We're gonna be in flying cars moving around the place. Finally flying cars. They launched yesterday. They got FAA certified yesterday, by the way. Joby did. So these are the sorts of things that are happening that I think don't get enough attention. And we spend all this time thinking about how we're gonna die and what's gonna kill us and what's coming next. And we don't talk enough about how exciting tomorrow is gonna be. And so I wanna kinda change the message a little bit and spend some time on this. And that's kinda why I do this show. It's why I do, and considering doing this new show, which will just be focused on the science and tech of tomorrow and just kinda get people excited about it.
Okay, that's great. I'm with you. I'm very positive about the future. I do think it's important to make sure that everyone gets, I do think it's important to make sure that everyone can follow along to that future, especially, for example, in music and AI music. But I am very positive about the future. I think it's going to keep being awesome.
I will say one more. I think the fear of tomorrow is what makes everyone turn against each other. Because as soon as you're fearful about tomorrow, you have a reason to blame someone around you, and that's why we are all like this all the time. And I think it's very bad. It's very unhealthy. It goes to a dark place. And so I want us to all be optimistic about tomorrow, and be realistic, but be optimistic about tomorrow so that we're not all at each other's throats all the time. That's why I think it matters.
Okay. And I think on that positive note, we should end, because we're running out of time. I could keep talking to both of you forever, but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. David and Lainey, thank you.